Yeah, it certainly, Tuesday was a session that had its ups and downs.
Give me the Madamaga.
Very well, Shukan. I will, I'll pop open a box of that here for you real quick before we start. And thank you for the, thank you for supporting the channel with that. Oh, Mad Mage. And then, of course, we'll replace it with a Mad Mage. Alright, Shukan. What do we have? Yes, Oh Sheeps is the cheerleader. Everyone, if you got the emote, let it rip. What will Shukan get in this box of Mad Mage? You don't want any flumps? Yeah, Bubonic, you don't seem to trust flumps. And yet, it's in the name. Alright, Shukan. This is your box. We have a shadow. Very nice. Translucent. And if you want the shadow to stalk someone, the base is kind of open. And so you get figures like a Gnome Inquisitive as your other comment in here. You can have it be kind of creepy. Whoa. A flump plushie would be amazing. Continuing the spoopy trend, as an uncommon Shukan, you have a flesh golem. A flesh golem. And lastly, your big honkin' figure in this box is none other than Otto. This is a large figure as well. That shadow could be a spell, yeah. Getting Otto makes me want to buy another, so I will. And so the box is labeled as yours, Shukan.
Madamaga, round 2.
Round 2. Round 2. All right, I'm just gonna have to keep filling this up then. I have 2 left after this pull. Now I might get in a restock tomorrow. We'll see. I guess it depends on when it left the warehouse. In fact, you know what? Let's have a bit of fun. Not necessarily a storytelling with this Shukon, but let's tie this into our content of Saltmarsh, and I'll tell you how. Give me 1 second. Matter Dash, or is it Matter or Mater? I don't play D&D, but I do play RPG system with friends. I was wondering if you had any tips for being more vocal, or I have a hard time with flavor. I say things like, I shoot the crossbow, but others are like, I draw the crossbow up with my right hand while crouching and steadying it on my knee. I take the shot. I know this does not affect the points, but I want to be more dynamic with my flavoring of my actions. Any tips? So, yes, there are... really, it's as you have described. The big part in this is to make yourself your character. So, I mean, saying, I shoot the crossbow... I shoot the crossbow is good. It's certainly better than my character, because that's automatically divorcing yourself from your character. But put yourself in the character's actions. You can be very detailed. I wouldn't recommend being super detailed. But what you provided, honestly, is a good example up above here. If you have a dagger, let's say, you carry the dagger in a leather sheath. You can narrate through using I, or if you wish to say the name of your character instead to make sure that it's out there, you're reinforcing your character and other people know your character's name. So your character's name is Dash. So you can say, sensing danger, I or Dash. Unsheath the dagger. Give it a quick flip in my hand and hold it blade down. One hand presses against the wall as I'm constantly making sure that I'm grounded in case something happens. Ask questions of your dungeon master. What does this place look like? What does this place smell like? An interesting, so actually a good classic example is in a module. Many modules will give you some box text for a location. The box text is what everyone sees. There's really no roles necessary for it. It's up to you as the player to then further explore the room or to otherwise bring the world to life beyond what is obvious. It's obvious if you have a weapon, you're going to use the weapon in combat. It's obvious that if you have a crossbow, there's just a rote mechanic to, pulling it back, setting in the bolt, bringing it up, and squeezing the trigger on the underside, right? And you can aim in different ways. You can aim, iron sights. You can describe it as I have my loaded crossbow ready to go. I unsling it over my shoulder, boom, take a shot, and make the noise, right? Go, or however you think it would sound, twang, right? Use sound effects. I would also encourage you to get into not just your attacks, but also into your attack rolls for either getting hit or even being missed. Something that's fun, and if your DM doesn't do this, you can always use this as personal practice. If you are hit, if you are missed mechanically by the dice roll, describe your character as still being hit, but it is it's just a glancing blow. Does your character have a shield? you can say the enemy's sword crashes against my shield, jarring me. I grit my teeth, or Dash grits his teeth and looks over the brim of the shield and doesn't say anything but just glowers before pushing the attacker back. And now it's my turn. And in this case, you can say, after that, Dash tightens his grip on the Warhammer's handle, and with a barbaric yawp, brings the Warhammer crashing down, and you roll. And even if you miss, his anger offset his aim. The momentum is as such that he misses, and it carries him around in a full circle before he sets himself ready for another round. And just treat it like your storytelling, bit by bit, because that's what you're doing in combat. Just bit by bit by bit. And bring it to life. You know, have an idea for who your character is. Why does your character have a shield and a hammer? Why does your character use a crossbow? What do those items look like? Do you have something cosmetic? So, for example, I don't know, maybe your maybe your character is colorblind, and so instead of something like a red targeting line on your crossbow, you can bring up an interesting detail such as, Dash lines up the crossbow, the blue line guiding his shot. He closes one eye, takes a moment, inhales, holds his breath so his aim is steady, fires. Roll your die. And, get into it. And also, prompt your dungeon master. Prompt your dungeon master to do the same. Because if everyone's doing it at the table, it makes it a more immersive experience. And it gets all of you thinking creatively about your characters. Alright, so I've popped open your box here, Shukan. Let's see what's inside it. We're going to go back up to the commons. Hello, Old Knock. Exactly, put yourself in your character's shoes, says Shukan. Yep, there's a goodly amount of people in this community that know about or have played Numenera. Very active Numenera community. You've had to turn down many games. I'm glad that helps you, Dash. And Dash, if you do want to join our Discord, we have a mentor section where you can ask these questions and get advice on an ongoing basis. Hello, Diadems, welcome. Dash is over. Uses his action to dash, bonus action dash, action surge dash. Oh. Alright, so, to kind of preview a little bit about what we're going to be looking at for our Saltmarsh review part 2. There are various officers that are listed that have roles aboard a ship. And so I think something that could be fun... now, there's only 4 figures in this box. But as I reveal the figures, let's pretend that your ship had these characters as crew members. And so, especially you, Shukan, I can give you the prompt, and I want you to tell me where this character would fit aboard your ship in a particular leadership position. Now, does it just have to be captain, first mate, bosun, quartermaster, surgeon, and cook? Not necessarily. Though, of course, these are very well-known positions aboard a ship, and ones of great influence. So there are 6 positions. There are 4 figures here. And why don't we populate Shukan's ship with 4 officers? And this way we're linking your box pull to the content that we're going to be previewing. Yes, I do own a game store. All right, so first up, we have a thug. Now, just because the figure is a thug, does this character seem like a captain? Does this character seem like a bosun, who is kind of the carpenter, the repairman, the engineer? At least according to the supplement here that we're going through. Or perhaps the thug is the cook and makes an awesome stew. So we have the thug. Let's figure out where the thug could belong on the ship. A cook. So this is your cook? Okay. Then what about the flying sword? Where does the flying sword fit aboard your vessel? Is this a sentient magic item? Does this have, tails of something? Is the flying sword your medic, your surgeon? And so it's a sword that knows how to treat wounds, because it is it's a blade itself. It knows how to cause and cure injury. Or is this your cook because it can stir a pot without burning itself? Or is perhaps this the sword of the deceased captain? The captain's intelligence is stored in it, and the sword is the leader. You want to hang out, but I'm working on a commission? Want to say hi? All right, Fallon. Hey, no, go to work. Do what you got to do. Thanks for stopping by. A ghost sword. All right. So the flying sword is the medic. So if you need treatment, you can go see this auto scalpel. Yeah, Bubonic, he did get the flying sword. I think I recall you saying something. You wanted him to get that. This is by the helm because it's our navigator. You want the flying sword to be the navigator? Next up, we have an uncommon that is a berserker leader. All right, so you have the thug who's a cook. You have the flying sword, who is the captain of the ship. Where does she fit in? Oh, so this is the captain. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was a medic. It was a medic. The sword was the medic, and the thug was the cook. All right, you want her to be the captain because she's got the biggest axe? It's a flying magnetic sword that always points north. Oh, hey, that's really cool. And then lastly, Shukan, what role aboard the ship does the Death Tyrant have? So we still have Bosun. We have Quartermaster, so someone who keeps track of the supplies. Right? Bosun, or the boatswain, provides technical advice to the captain and crew and leads repair and maintenance efforts. The Quartermaster plots the ship's course, relying on knowledge of nautical charts and study of weather. Although, if you want the sword to be the magnetic one, the Quartermaster might be a good place for it. Reliable Quartermaster tends to have a high wisdom score. We have the surgeon and the cook. So, where do you want this crew? You have a thug, a berserker, a flying sword, and a death tyrant. Beholders know everything, so either a bosun or a quartermaster. So you're gonna have a ship that has a death tyrant advising a barbarian, while you have a kind of an auto suture flying sword that's your ship's medic, and here's your cook. What kind of ship is this? Shukan, that's the roleplay prompt. What kind of ship is this? You just made this happen. What kind of a ship would have this? You know, these are good roleplay. Opening up boxes like this are awesome roleplay prompts. Zulerpai, Shukan assigned the role of captain to the barbarian. We didn't assign a position of first mate, and we didn't have a position of quartermaster. The bosun went to the death tyrant, the barbarian was the captain, the flying sword was the surgeon, and the thug was the cook. No way, never pirates. With a crew like that, it should be a totally straight-edged, lawful trading ship. I mean, look, if you're rolling up on a ship and a death tyrant comes over to the rail and just looks out at your own ship, wouldn't that be something if it could petrify an entire ship and just sink it because it turns into a stone? So while we're here, and I mean, would a ship sink if turned to stone? Would it not still be buoyant enough? That might depend on the density of the stone. I mean, are we talking something light and porous? Or are we talking something very dense? Dash says the ship is an Avenger ship bound by the mystic arts and drawn from the depth. It will not be overtaken. All right. Oh, snap. True Epic Guy is raiding with 4 True Epic Guy lings. Thank you very much. Welcome aboard. Well, and I guess I say that because we're talking Ghosts of Saltmarsh. And in particular, we just did a very interesting exercise where we popped open a box of minis and assigned them roles aboard the ship based on the types of officers you can find. But yes, a raid, and everyone, please welcome our raiders. What were you up to, True Epic Guy? Pulls into port, and a death tyrant floats over and hands the harbor master a ship's manifest. I think you'll find everything is in good order. Wander Utopia, hello. All it says is stone, so I guess that's up to you and your dungeon master to decide which kind of stone. Yeah, Wander, we're having an excellent stream. And thank you very much for the follow, too. You're playing some Darksiders 3 and trying to reach your follow and sub goal? Oh, well, I hope that you've been making good progress towards that, Epic. And thank you so much for coming over and saying hi to us after you finished up your own stream. Turns the ship into osmium. Two away from... Oh, awesome. Well, I mean, even if you didn't, I still I appreciate the raid all the same. Oh, well, Wonder, thank you very much for subbing to the YouTube here. For all the workshops that we run, unless we're doing a painting week, the workshops go up so you can see character creation, campaign part creation, map making. We do a lot of stuff here. So thank you very much. And you all are welcome. I mean, if you got to go, I understand you got to go. Usually raids are, I'm going to turn in for the night. But if you want to stick around, we're talking about the new supplement that came out, the Ghosts of Saltmarsh. And while we role play on Tuesdays, it's a way for us to practice, or for me to practice what I preach, as I run a game with community members, and then Wednesday through Saturday we do D&D workshops. Ah, Trustaflumph is here. Trustaflumph, you would enjoy the exercise that we're doing here. Shukan ended up getting 2 boxes. I don't know if you've been around, if you were there for it. Shukan got 2 boxes of Dungeon of the Mad Mage, and we did a quick role-playing exercise by assigning the miniatures roles aboard a ship. Half here at the airport waiting for a delayed flight. Oh, all right. Well, I hope you have a good flight, and that the airport internet isn't, well, if you're connected to airport internet, they're probably going to charge you, like $15 per kilobyte, and it'll be a very slowly served one, too. Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, welcome back anytime that you want to join us, Wander. Check out, you can check out our clips, you can check out our VODs. If you join our Discord, and hey, I get it too, if a lot of you are already in 11 billion Discords, we have a mentor space, we have an inspiration space, we keep it PG-13, safe for work, and so if you ever need ideas, or you have questions, or the like, you can... Oh.
Madame Garance 3, for Flumpfüboy. Let's see how the ship is gonna be.
Oh, so are you gifting this box to Flumph, or are these your miniatures, but you want to show them off to Trustaflumph? Alright, so yes, the captain issues orders. The best captains have high intelligence and charisma scores, as well as proficiency with water vehicles and the intimidation and persuasion skills. The first mate. The specialist keeps the crew's morale high by providing supervision, encouragement, and discipline. A first mate benefits from a high charisma score, as well as proficiency with the intimidation and persuasion skills. The bosun provides technical advice to the captain and crew and leads repair and maintenance efforts. A good bosun has a high strength score, as well as proficiency with carpenter's tools and the athletics skill. Quartermaster. The quartermaster plots the ship's course, relying on knowledge of nautical charts and a study of weather and sea conditions. A reliable quartermaster tends to have a high wisdom score, as well as proficiency with navigator's tools and the nature skill. The surgeon. The ship's surgeon tends to injuries, keeps illnesses from spreading throughout the ship, and oversees sanitation. A capable surgeon benefits from a high intelligence score, as well as proficiency with herbalism kits and the medicine skill. And then lastly, a ship's cook works with the limited ingredients aboard a ship to make meals. A skilled cook keeps the crew's morale in top shape, while a poor one drags down the entire crew's performance. A talented cook has a high constitution score, as well as proficiency with brewer supplies and cook's utensils. Now you can find this in the free to download Unearthed Arcana called Of Ships and the Sea. And you can see that oh, thank you very much for the host. And you can see that this isn't exactly all that different than what made it into the printed book. And a lot of the content really hasn't, it doesn't seem like it's changed all that much. So I keep our Unearthed Arcana open next to Ghosts of Saltmarsh just to see if there are any differences. And then of course, you have a general crew, and we'll get to that. Let's make some officers aboard another ship here. You guess you'll keep it? Okay, Shukan. Ship's cook. You'd be shocked at how many ways you can, in fact, skin a cat. All right, so Shukan, we had a very interesting crew, and maybe this got us thinking, yeah, you know what? What kind of interesting sailing adventures would you go on to have a ship like this? All right, if you have the emote, everyone spam it. Let's give Shukan some good luck while we're opening up another ship worth of crew members here. There we go. If you got the minis, here we are. All right. The second ship in Shukan's fleet. We begin with a grung. This one apparently has active camo here. A grung. So you have a little frog person. Where would your grung fit aboard a ship if it was in a leadership position? And you don't have to answer necessarily straight up, because let's measure what everything is that you have. Next up, so we have a grung aboard your ship. We also have a flumph aboard your ship. And you know what that means? Our flumph count has gone up. So we have a grung and a flumph. Next up, we have a veteran leader. Looks like he's dual-wielding longswords. A veteran leader. Nice cape also. And lastly, an officer aboard your ship number 2, Shukan, is Muriel. Effectively like a centaur scorpion. So Shukan, I want you to tell me about this ship. What role does Muriel have? What role does the flumph have? The grung and the veteran leader. And remember, we have the captain, the first mate, the bosun, the quartermaster, the surgeon, the warrant, and the cook. Yet Muriel might make for a very good bosun. Technical advice of the captain leads repair and maintenance efforts. With all those legs, I mean, you could kind of hold stuff in place and, you know, and fix stuff up. Probably has a decent strength score. I mean, did you see the size that... If you can wield like a claymore like it's a longsword, then I think you can do pretty well. However... Oh, I highlighted something apparently. What did I do? There we go. However, I mean, if you go by the lore of Muriel, Muriel went to go study magic and is very intelligent. Muriel might be the surgeon.
For the trip.
For the trip? Oh, diadems. Oh, wait, so you're making me do math here. All right, so we have 6 to bring it to 80, plus another 7. So that's 50. So we're at 188.50. Oh, that would have brought us to 2. So we're at $201. Oh my goodness. Thank you all so much. You all are amazing. Thank you so much. And Trust a Flump is throwing in 90 cents. Oh, Trust a Flump, don't worry about it. Now, I did see Zulerpie saying, oh, Muriel for the bosun, Flump for first mate, right? Who wouldn't want a morale officer of a Flump? And of course, you know, a morale officer, you could also think of Neelix from Voyager if you want to. Would you name this Flump Neelix if you had the opportunity? The grung for the chef? You just gotta watch out, because if it falls into a pot of boiling water, it won't know it till it's too late. So we have a grung cook, the Flump for first mate, Muriel for bosun, and then what about the veteran right here? Do we have a roguish surgeon? Is this our quartermaster who can help navigate rough waters? Is this the captain of ship number 2? By the way, having the grung as the ship's cook reminds me of a card in the Weatherlight cycle called Recycle. If any of you played Magic back then, or if you just want to look up the card Recycle in Magic the Gathering, that's immediately what came to mind. A guy dual-wielding longswords, let's make him a surgeon. Awesome. So here's ship number 2. Here's our here's our surgeon. Our bosun. I mean, even if you wanted to have a large ship and these were redundant positions or something. Our first mate. our flump mate here. And our cook, the grung. What a goodly haul that was, Shukan. And I only have one more left. Un homage. Now, positions like the first mate and the cook are important because, I mean, the ship requires a number... Well, actually, let's use the Ghosts of Saltmarsh in case there's a difference. A ship requires a number of able-bodied sailors to crew it, as specified in its stat block. A crew's skill, experience, morale, and health are defined by its quality score. This score can affect a number of general ship activities, like the crew's ability to notice threats or contend with hazards. A crew starts with a quality score of +4, but that score varies over time, going as low as -10 and as high as +10. It decreases as a crew takes casualties, suffers hardship, or endures poor health. It increases if the crew enjoys high morale, has good health care, and receives fair leadership. A typical crew member uses the commoner stat block in the monster manual. Now, if you recall, when we were looking at the commoner stat block, and this is also why naval combat is going to be very precarious, because your average sailor aboard your ship is going to have... One moment. Oh, diadems. Oh, well, I guess we're gonna be rounding that up some, huh? And there's the bandit captain. Bada boom. Here you go, everyone. Your crew is going to be mostly made up of challenge rating 0 commoners. They have 4 hit points and an AC of 10. This is why you want to be super careful about running ship-to-ship combat or even boarding actions, because you may very well lose a lot of your crew. Now, that said, the enemy crew are going to be commoners most of the time as well, so bear that in mind.
One box of ship of the crazy captain BLS.
Oh, very well, Trust-a-Flump. So I presume that is the last Mad Mage that you wanted, and so Trust-a-Flump wants a ship of his own. You got it, fam. All right. Let's help out Trust-a-Flump. And there's O'Sheeps. It's customary. All right, here's my last box of Mad Mage. Who will Trust a Flumph have in order to prevent mutiny, right? In order to keep their morale high. You know, you want to play with the optional rule of loyalty and quality. When dealing with individual member of the crew, you might find it useful to use the optional loyalty rule from Chapter 4 of the Dungeon Master's Guide. To convert a quality score into an individual's loyalty score, add 10 to the crew's quality score. And I'll show that off in just a moment here as we pop this open. So how is Trust a Flumph gonna run his ship? Intimidation and persuasion are the two skills that are suggested a first mate has. Now I gotta find, hang on. Ugh. I'm going down, everyone. Blurb, 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 blurb. Okay, I recovered the figure. Recovery complete. Alright, Trust a Flumph. Aboard your ship, you have the following characters, and I want you to tell me how this character would fit in aboard a ship that you would like to have. We begin with... Dun, 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 a veteran. Nice swooshy cape, wielding a longsword. We have a veteran. Next up, oh, looks like we're jumping to the uncommons. You have a Flind. You got a Flind in me. You got a Flind in me. See, you even have the skulls attached to the lash. So there's a knoll. Next up, you have a large uncommon figure, Trust a Flumph. And that figure is a Minotaur skeleton with a maul. A Minotaur skeleton with a maul. And lastly, Trust a Flumph, you have a rare figure from this set. And the rare figure you have is an Archmage. Or if you want to say Archmage, that's fine too. And so, Flumph, tell me how these people fit into your ship. We have a captain, a first mate, a bosun, a quartermaster. So kind of, the quartermaster is kind of the navigator, the bosun's kind of the engineer, the surgeon, and the cook. Alright, Flind is the first mate. Veteran makes a good quartermaster. Alright, so here's the first mate. You will stay in line, as the lashings will continue until morale improves. The veteran is making the quartermaster, so this is... The quartermaster plots the ship's course, relying on knowledge of nautical charts and a study of weather and sea conditions. A reliable quartermaster tends to have a high wisdom score, as well as proficiency with navigator's tools and nature skill. Look, see, the cape is like flowing water. In fact, like the cape Could even be a map of the sea itself. Ooh. Let's see. The Archmage is the captain because he's smart. Okay, so the SS Trustaflumph here is captained by an Archmage, is guided by this veteran. Flind, the Knoll, is the first mate under the captain. And then the Minotaur Skeleton is the cook. Okay. Because skeleton, if it isn't distracted by the failings or taste and can focus on creating the pure essence of flavor. How about that, everyone? Here is your ship's cook. I love it. And I'm actually kind of happy you went that direction, because my gut reaction was, oh, this is obviously the bosun, right? Big hammer. It can just, you know, like hold stuff in place. It's a skeleton. It can go underwater outside the ship's hull to repair holes. But Trustaflumph, the fact that you chose this to be the cook aboard your ship absolutely delights me. And, you know, it has the pursuit of pure flavor. Maybe that's what drives it back from the afterlife. Oh, yeah, the hammer's for tenderizing. So, right, you know, whenever you land on an island and you face those historically accurate giant enemy crabs, you can go for the weak spot. Because, look, giant enemy crabs need a big hammer to crack them open. The skeleton can make very good smashed and mashed potatoes. And you know what? For any of you who've been around on the Tuesday game since the beginning, Lellywellin's Gamble is the name of the ship that the PCs arrived to Mesomasca on at the beginning of the Tuesday session. That ship has a skeleton as the as the ship's cook. And one of the reasons why it makes such an efficient cook, kind of like what Trustaflumph was getting at, is it never has to leave the galley. It can prepare meals at all times. And of course, the skeleton itself doesn't need to eat, although it probably, if it wants to pursue the taste of essence, it probably somehow, dips a finger or something into the mix to try and absorb this essence of the meal. That is amazing. And so you all have some very interesting boats floating around. And I do hope that this exercise, because look, there's opportunity everywhere. Why can't we tie in our exploration of Saltmarsh with with us opening up packs of minis, right? And going outside the norm. You know, how many of us might think, oh, well, this is, I'm just going to have a bunch of humans and my crew. My crew is going to consist of, an elf, because they're good at perception, and that's fine. I don't want to poo-poo on that. Hang on. Let me put, what would be a good... Let's see if I can draw this. There you go, Trustaflumph. I gave you a tricorn hat. And I'll even put I'll put a lovely feather in it. My boat is named the Goating Diadem. The Goating Diadem. I like that. What boxes do we have? Well, I am fresh out of Dungeon of the Mad Mage. And so I have Tomb of Annihilation. I have Storm King's Thunder and Monster Menagerie 3. Goading Diadem is a fine name. Now, speaking of the DMG, right? It does mention Chapter 4, and I'll go over to that. Remember that there are some entries to help support the info here. On page 119, where it gives a broad overview of some things, the damage threshold and whatnot. It's not getting to the mechanics of things like mutiny, and so we can check that out in our Chapter 4. Let me scroll to it. There's just so much information in here. You can continually find optional rules or just ways to mix up your game, improve it in different ways. I went too far, everyone. Hold on. I should have had this bookmarked because we used it the last time that we used it the last time that we ended up going into this chapter for the Unearthed Arcana. Oh, that's Chapter 3, Creating Adventures. I went too far again. Here we go, Chapter 4. Oh, you know what? I think I remember where this was. It was right here. There we go, Loyalty. So this is talking about loyalty and quality. When dealing with an individual member of the crew, you might find it useful to use the optional loyalty rule from Chapter 4. I don't know why they also wouldn't have put the page number. I mean, it just cost a couple drops of ink. To convert a quality score to an individual loyalty score, add 10. So, loyalty score. An NPC's loyalty is measured on a numerical scale from 0 to 20. The NPC's maximum loyalty score is equal to the highest charisma score.
Storm King's Thunder plays Lesson 3.
Oh, Coffee Cat? Alright, so Coffee Cat wants to sail a ship, and this one may very well have a Gigante aboard. Equals the highest charisma score among all adventurers in the party, and its starting loyalty score is half that number. If the highest charisma score changes, perhaps a character dies or leaves the group, adjust the NPC's loyalty score accordingly. Keep track of an NPC's loyalty score in secret, so that the players won't know for sure whether an NPC party member is loyal or disloyal. Let's grab our SKT here. And actually, since I have a little bit of space here for it, there's the refill. And our final Storm King's Thunder from this brick is now here. And then we'll form a crew up for Coffee Cat. And oh snap, Coffee Cat, you have earned a new bits badge. So congrats on that. An NPC's loyalty score increases by 1d4 if other party members help the NPC achieve a goal tied to its bond. Likewise, an NPC's loyalty score increases by 1d4 if the NPC is treated particularly well. An NPC whose loyalty score drops to 0 is no longer loyal to the party and might part ways with them. A loyalty score can never drop below 0. So here you go, everyone. This is something you can supplement on your crew if you want to track individual loyalty. Which maybe, I mean, your party members may start out as crew, or you could start them off as officers if you really wanted. And then they build and build from there. And what happens if you suffer mutiny? Well, we'll find out in a second. Well, hopefully we're not going to find out on Coffee Cat's ship. Because Coffee Cat, you are going to need to assign some leadership roles to the minis that we have just popped. Let's go to Storm King's Thunder. And yeah, if you got them, everyone, please give Coffee Cat some good luck with the emote. Alright, so remember, there are 6 positions open aboard a ship. And so this is your challenge, Coffee Cat. You may end up with some very interesting polls as the others have. Where would they find a place aboard your ship? Why and how? Alright, so first up, we have a sprite with a spear. A sprite with a spear. So where would this tiny lad belong on your ship? And you don't have to answer immediately. You can if you want, but it's something to think about. Right? We have captain. We have, if you want me to go over any of the particulars, let me know. Captain, first mate, bosun, quartermaster, surgeon, and cook. Next up, you have a Gith-Zerai monk. Apparently it's an elemental user. Has a little bit of a spell, a little bit of fire, as well as a dagger. So here's a Gith-Zerai monk. A sprite with a spear and a Gith-Zerai monk. Next up, you have a large uncommon in the set. And your large uncommon is a winter wolf. A winter wolf. And so there's got to be a story here, right?
Monster Menagerie pour fever.
McFluffy Muffin, of course. Apparently you want to build a ship too. The monk is the cook. He's prepped for food. He's got the knife. He's got the heat. There we go. And lastly, you have a rare figure in the set, Coffee Cat. The rare figure that you have is a Yuan-Ti Malazan. Human torso, snake arms. So remember, we have captain, we have first mate, we have the bosun, provides technical advice to the captain and crew, leads repair and maintenance efforts. It's kind of like the ship's engineer. The quartermaster is like a navigator. The surgeon is the doctor, and the cook is the cook. The Yuan-Ti is the quartermaster. Okay, so what, does he use the snake arms to sense the weather, or... Oh, and the wolf is the first mate? You want to talk about helping keep people in line. You have this big boy prowling the deck. Because look at the size of the wolf compared to a person. Whoop. That's a big doggo. Alright, so the Gith-Zerai monk, the elemental monk, is the cook. The Malazan is the bosun. Or, I'm sorry, the quartermaster. The wolf is the first mate, and so where does that leave our sprite? Or did I miss that already? Okay, I got you, Coffee. Oh, the sprite is the captain? Ha! So we have a tiny captain and a large first mate. I bet there is a story here. And I would love to know how the captain and first mate met. And how they, how they got their ship. And just what happened to build this as a crew. The sprite needs the wolf to be the first mate because everyone makes fun of them being so small. Right, so we have Tough, who's the wolf, and Love, that's the captain. And together they are Tough Love. Unless it's the opposite, and the sprite is named Tough, and the wolf is named Love. I very much can see this being your weatherman and your navigator, right? Several heads are better than one. And we already have, we already have someone who's sort of based in nature. The wolf is a good boy. So the wolf offers, you know, some compassionate advice if someone's in trouble. All right, Coffee Cat. There you go. Now, I mean, what happens if there's a mutiny? Let's check it out. And this is McFluffy Muffin's box. And we will rotate with my last Monster Menagerie 3s here. Don't tell anyone, I actually brought these home from the store. There we go. A poorly led or mistreated crew might turn against its officers. Once per day, if a crew's quality score is lower than 0, remember, it can go to -10. So 0 is not necessarily bad, it's just a danger zone. The captain must make a charisma, intimidation, or persuasion check modified by the crew's quality score. If the check total is between 1 and 9, the crew's quality score decreases by 1. If the check total is 0 or lower, the crew mutinies. They become hostile to the officers and might attempt to kill them, imprison them, or throw them overboard. The crew can be cowed into obedience through violence, combat, or offers of treasure or other rewards. When the DM ends the mutiny, the crew's quality score increases by 1d4. And of course, you know, you could give some shore leave, and that will help improve the attitude of your sailors. Life aboard a ship is a constant wear on the crew. Spending time in port allows the crew to relax and regain its composure. If a crew's quality score is 3 or lower, the score increases by 1 for each day the crew spends in port or ashore. Now you'll notice there's a limit. If the cap is 10 overall, the cap here is 3 because, look, if you want to be a happy sailor, you got to be sailing. And just because you go to the pleasure planet of Risa doesn't mean you're going to become a better Federation officer. Though I'm sure you're going to find some wacky hijinks if you do. Hello, Tretch. Welcome. And yes, once more, everyone, for McFluffy Muffin, please post your emotes in chat. And let's build a crew for McFluffy Muffin's ship. Well, not a crew. Let's build the officers. Right? There's 6 positions. There's 4 figures. I'm sure we can find a way to work through this. All right, McFluffy Muffin, if you are up for the challenge, you, like the others, have some very interesting polls for you to decide who might be captain, if anyone, first mate, if anyone, bosun, quartermaster. Remember, bosun's kind of like engineer, quartermaster's like the navigator, surgeon, doctor, or the cook, morale officer. So here we go. Well, actually, the first mate's kind of the morale officer. The cook is a good support, and, well, you're performing a good physical goal. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Let's go to Monster Menagerie 3, and who is aboard McFluffy Muffin's ship? And also, McFluffy Muffin, what is the name of your ship? All right, first up, we have a gazer. if it'll focus. This is a... Oh, there we go. It's a wee little babby beholder. Hi, Gazer. It's so small and cute. So this thing's probably about the size of a cat. Or a volleyball. But it's an officer aboard your ship, and I want to know where and why. Next up, we have a vampire spawn. A vampire spawn. What does she do aboard your ship, McFluffy Muffin? Next up, you have... what number are you? Aha. A Kuo-Toa whip. So you have a fish person with a whip and a hook. A Kuo-Toa whip. A little bit behind because of lag. The name would be Floor Popcorn. Okay, so the name of McFluffy Muffin's ship is called Floor Popcorn. And its officers so far consist of a gazer, a vampire spawn, and a Kuo-Toa whip. And you'd love to have people in chat make rolls for you to share the creativity. Well, what kind of rolls would you want from them? And lastly, you have a huge figure, McFluffy Muffin. And that figure is a frost giant with a sword. And by the way, there's a person for comparison. So that's like, what, a 5.5 foot tall person? Oh, Sheeps is making a Cinnabons. Oh, that's awesome. All right, everyone. So McFluffy Muffin wants a little bit of help. How would a ship like this be crewed? What role would the Frost Giant play? The Gazer? What role would the Kuo-Toa play? And what role would the Vampire Spawn play? The Kuo-Toa swabs the decks, says Tretch. The giant will be the cook, because imagine him trying to squeeze below deck. Well, yeah, the galley would often be below deck, oh sheeps. The gazer's in the crow's nest. Okay, so the gazer would probably be our quartermaster, who's our navigator. So, I guess the Kuo-Toa, if you wanted to assign an officer position, would be the bosun, since the bosun is the one who would be sort of inspecting the ship, making sure it's in tip-top shape. If you want the ship maybe to, if you want the ship to perhaps cut through the water faster, maybe he actually spreads fish slime on the hull to make it slide through the water more easily. That could be a possibility. And we'll actually get to stuff like hull upgrades and all that in part 2. And we're coming up to it. But that'd be very interesting, right? So your engineer is the Kuotoa, who's making the ship actually like better by sliming it. O'Sheeps wants the giant to be the cook. And Pneumonica said that the gazer, the little beholder, would be the navigator, right? Would be the quartermaster who would take up residence in the crow's nest, or I guess it would be what the beholder's nest? I don't know what you'd want to call it. The aberrant nest. And lastly, then, well, what about the vampire spawn? Is she the first mate? Is she the captain? Is she the surgeon? You know, if a lot of doctors are often called leeches for the application of leeches, right? To get the bad blood out of people. You have someone who is, you know, maybe because she can practice on herself. She doesn't, you know, she knows anatomy because she can just look at her own anytime she wants with no real ill effect. So would you want her as your medic? Do you want her as your captain or as your first mate? I think it works, Pneumonica. Yeah, hydrodynamics, exactly, Tretch. Okay, and so you want the vampire spawn to be the captain, and she wears like this big, like a sombrero, or are we talking like a big, like super opulent tricorn or something to make sure that she stays out of the sun? Hey, and you know what? Mordecai might have to do that aboard the ship. Oh, that's right. Coffee Cat, I don't want to spoil anything. McFluffy Muffin has not seen Tuesday's game. Ba-ba-da-da. A red velvet tricorn, maybe like French frills? Ah. And so she's the captain of the ship known as Floor Popcorn. Hopefully it'll be watched soon. Hopefully so. These are things that might need to be thought about. We'll see, right? Now something, Pneumonica says, for keeping the sun off, a cavalier hat might be better, and yes, they were worn in maritime. And McFluffy Muffin says yes. Alright, folks, taking off soon. Ah, Trust a Flump, good. Go, travel, have fun, see friends and or family. Enjoy your summer vacay. It's obviously not a staycay, but enjoy your vacay. I mean, if you hang out with us, that's cool, but do awesome summertime stuff, Trust a Flump. Be well, and thank you so much for being around here and hanging out with us cool kids. I do want to bring up that in this supplement, there is an example crew. And now this is a good DM note. Like if you just want quick reference stuff, an example crew of a warship would be a captain, and you have the stats of the bandit captain in the monster manual. 4 other officers, first mate, whatever, and those would have the stats of a noble, and then sailors that would be commoners. Or I'm sorry, this is the sailing ship. The warship would have 40 soldiers that have guard stats. 8 siege engineers that would have guard stats, and a priest, which is the ship's surgeon. And so this is a good reference point for you all out there if you acquire a ship. Now, something to keep in mind. The Ghosts of Saltmarsh do not have airships listed. And so if you want to act off of a base for an airship, there's a sample stat block for an airship here in the Unearthed Arcana. And so this is something to think about. Now, it doesn't give you a sample. It doesn't give you a sample crew, or it doesn't give you a fill in your own. You'd have to do that yourself. But these are good inspirations for the type of people you might be able to expect to recruit as officers or as crew members. All right, so I believe that is going to shore up this section of the officers. Now, wait, was there another point I was going to make about that? I forget. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. The one last point. Sorry, I'm going to take that back. One moment. When we were going over this, the Unearthed Arcana before, we made some characters, and we're going to make some of these officer characters maybe tonight, depending on the time. Tomorrow and Saturday for sure. Something that I recommended was we still used our random rolls, but we weighted intelligence and charisma. So even if we got a barbarian, we would still have an intelligent and charisma barbarian. And what we did, because these are officers, these are a cut above. You became this role for a reason, because you have this extra training. And so the officer title, it acted a bit like a background, except we also had a background. So really, this was a supplement. And what I ended up doing, and I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily broken, but a suggestion for you. If you have, if you're a dungeon master and you have player characters that want to be officers aboard a ship, consider having them go through the traditional character making for whatever your tabletop uses. And ask them to incorporate these considerations for their role, and as well give them the proficiency with water vehicles and intimidation and persuasion skills. Now, it's not a bad thing. I would recommend not having a player character as the captain. And I don't say that out of a lack of trust in humanity or even your own players, because your players are your own. If your captain is an NPC as a dungeon master, it can make it easy to set up order giving, building trust, or even if you want to build up to a mutiny, it can act in a very good way to do that. And so maybe then the PCs can step up later. And it also works out because if you remove the captain role from a player character position, there's the possibility for less fighting or contradiction. But lo and behold, there are 5 other officer positions. And now many people might play with only 4, and that's fine. I prefer 5. 5 is my magic number. I'll go up to 6. But if you need to, then simply, reserve the captain as an NPC, and then have your player characters fill these roles, and give them, a capable surgeon benefits from a high intelligence score, as well as proficiency with herbalism kits and the medicine skill. And so give them these proficiencies, and either a bonus to this score, or just say, look, make sure your score is at least a 13, like a multi-class requirement. Make sure your score is at least a 13, and I will give this to you, and then you're the surgeon, because you're speaking with authority. You have instant, even at level 1, although your officers probably aren't level 1 characters. We're probably talking already like level 3, level 4, maybe. It depends on the scale. Heck, in Eberron, the king of the largest continent is only a level 5 warrior, and he was an army veteran. Maybe, was it 7? It might have been 7 at the latest. I keep thinking 5. But still, that's something to consider. Hey, Dessins, welcome. Yeah, please. You had a rough day at work? Well, Dessins, look, sit back and relax. We've just finished up doing some interesting exercises. We've talked about the position of the officers and the crew aboard ships as presented by the Ghosts of Saltmarsh. We're going to take about a 10-minute break. I think I might get some salsa con queso myself here. We've been talking about it. And when we come back, let's talk about things that you can do to upgrade your ship, about travel, about a lot of ways that you can go through and not just improve your crew members, because we did that already, but let's see what you can add to your ship and make it better or stronger or faster. You went to the bathroom and washed my hands, and when I dried them, apparently, I smashed some kind of bug that had been lurking under my hand. Oh, no! So you had to, you just got to, and you had to rewash your hands again? Very spoopy, huh? You had salsa con queso? Well, yeah, I'll go fix some during our break. Enjoy the music, relax. Dessins, you are here with friends, and so if you need to unwind or get some advice or even just vent, you're welcome to do so. And when we come back, let's still talk D&D. And if some of you want to pop more boxes, let's have fun with it. You know, if any of you want to do that, maybe what we could do is look at the characters that you pop in your box, not as officers. If this were to be manifested into an upgrade for your ship, what would that upgrade be? What would it look like, or how would it function? You know, we got a little bit of that with like the Kuotoa slime, or I bet we could do something fun. You know, if you had, you know, the gazer actually as a part of your ship, kind of like a periscope. Wouldn't that be neat? The captain can go to the main central mast and look up through the gazer's eyes. But anyway, we'll do that soon. About a 10-minute break, everyone.